Would you like to be a part of my new podcast, Just Another Fanboy Presents? Well, if the idea intrigues you, then you might want to keep listening. Hey folks, this is Steven from Just Another Fanboy, and as I'm ramping up to the big launch of Just Another Fanboy Presents, The Death of Superman, I have one question for all of you. Where were you when Superman died? All right, here's the thing. I'm looking for a little audience participation for this show. And what I mean by that is I would really like to include each and every one of you in the cold opening of as many episodes of Just Another Fanboy Presents as I can. And you can be a part of that by recording your thoughts in which you answer that question that I just gave you. Where were you when Superman died? Now, if you're not at all interested in doing this in any way, then frankly, you might want to just stop listening now, because the entirety of this here bonus episode is dedicated to this single topic. So for those of you who have decided to stick around, what I'm looking for here is about 2 to 3 minutes of you, again, answering that question. Where were you when Superman died? And I will then use it as the cold opening to an upcoming episode. So how do you do that? How do you participate? Well, it's all actually really rather simple. If you have a way to record your voice, just record your 2 to 3 minutes and email that file to justanotherfanboy@gmail.com. Now, you don't need to worry about including who you are or trying to plug your podcast or your website or any of that during the recording, because I'm actually going to do that for you when I do the official intro to the episode. And I'm going to know all that information because you're going to include it in the email when you send me the file. So all I want in the recording is you spending 2 to 3 minutes answering that question, which again is, where were you when Superman died? I'll then take that recording. I'm going to add some music to it. I'm going to open up an episode with it. And then when I do my official introduction in the episode, like I said, I'm going to let everyone know who you are and how they can find you online, providing you included all of that information in your email. If you want me to plug your podcast or your website, as long as you're not out there producing content that is just some straight up hate speech, I will plug it as part of the episode. So yeah, that's all I need. But if you want a little bit of clarity on what I'm looking for, I'm going to give you an example. So here is a totally made up version of a cold intro with the music included so that you can have an idea of what it is that I'm looking for. I was 9 years old when Superman died. I remember that my dad had driven us home from school that day. It had been me and my 2 brothers. And whenever we were in the car with my dad, he would always listen to NPR. Now, I was the youngest of my 3 brothers, and I remember that we had been horsing around in the back seat when the lady on the radio said that Superman had died, that he'd been killed by some monster. Now, I wasn't reading comics at the time, but I certainly knew who Superman was because one of our local channels used to replay the Super Friends every day after school, and I watched it religiously. It was part of my daily routine. And while I liked Batman, and I liked Wonder Woman and Aquaman and Green Lantern, Superman was my guy. I mean, he was only the biggest and best superhero in the whole entire world. I mean, at the time, he was like my everything. Well, I remember that I broke down and cried right there in the car in front of my dad and my 2 brothers. I was freaking devastated. And my dad, I recall, tried to tell me that it wasn't true, that no one could kill Superman, and that it was all just a stunt to sell more comics, which, to be honest with you, hadn't really made a whole lot of sense to my 9-year-old brain at that time. I only knew that my hero was dead, and that as far as I knew, I'd never, ever see him again. And yeah, that was a really tough day, and it's one that I'm never going to forget. So there you go. That's basically what I'm looking for. if you want to participate, make your recording and send it to me at justanotherfanboy@gmail.com. And don't forget to tell me in the email who you are, where people can find you online, or anything you want the listeners to know about. But hold on up there, Stephen. What if I want to participate, but I don't have any way to record my voice? Good question. Good question from you there in the back. Well, the best way I can answer that is to say that if you have a smartphone, then you have a way to record your voice. Just grab a free app. I always preferred using Mic Swap back when I just used my phone to record the podcast. It's fairly simple to use. Just use that, record your thoughts on that question. Where was I when Superman died? Save the file, send it in the email. Another option, if you are unable to do that for whatever reason, maybe you have a smartphone, you downloaded the app, you just can't figure out how to get it to work or sound good or any of that stuff. Another option is that you can always call in to the Just Another Fanboy voice line and leave a voicemail. The number 785-318-6673 is in the show notes. Just keep in mind that if you use that option, you need to make sure that you start out the voicemail telling me who you are and where the listeners can find you online and all that, because you won't have an email to go along with this. So I will need it in the recording so I can, give you your propers when I introduce the episode. So an example would be, you could say, hey, Stephen, my name is Slagathor, and you can find me on Twitter at blah, 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 blah. And this is a voicemail to tell you where I was when Superman died. I was 9 years old when Superman died, blah, 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 and all that. Make sense? All right, well, episode 0 of Just Another Fanboy Presents The Death of Superman lands on Thursday, October the 6th, which means that episode 1 lands on Thursday, October the 13th. So don't dally, folks. There's not really a deadline at this point. As long as I'm making episodes, I'm going to want cold openings from as many people as possible telling me where they were when Superman died. But still, I hope to hear from you soon. Bye!